with all of your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart, and do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. I want to use for a subject this morning, if not now, when? If not now, when? According to the book of James, chapter 2, if there is ever to be any evidence produced by the faith that you say you have, there has to be some form of action that accompanies it. Let me say that again, and I'll say it a little bit plainer so you can understand it. According to James chapter 2, faith without works is dead. Faith by itself isn't worth your time or your energy, especially when you are desiring a manifestation from God. Wealth and success, good health, abundance, growth, all requires both faith and action. Is it all right if I teach you all this today? Yeah. Action implies that you already know that it's yours. Action sends out the message that you know without a shadow of a doubt that you're not only praying, but you're knowing that what you want can be had. According to Mark chapter 11, verse 24, it says plainly, whatever you ask in prayer, believing that you already received it. That's past tense. Believe that you already have received it, then it will be yours. That means that you've got to move, perform, act like you already got it in your hand before you can get it in your hand. Now, for those of you that think logically, for those of you who have a very analytical mind, hard for so many of us to do, because most of us have been taught you have to see it before you can act like you got it. You have to have it in your hand before you actually believe that God is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all you could ask or think. But a real believer says, I ain't got to see it, I ain't got to touch it, I ain't got to smell it, I ain't got to feel it. I know that because I asked God for it, it is already done. Do I have any real believers in the house that says, I ain't got to wait till I see it before I can thank him for it and act like it's already mine? That takes faith. To act like you've got something and there is no evidence that it's there. That's real faith. Because the moment that you act like it's already there, it sends a message to any and everybody around you that God is going to do exactly what I prayed for God to do. When there is action. And if you pray for healing, that means that you don't wait until you get the healing before you start thanking him and praising him. You act like you're healed. Even if I think it was Reverend Ike that coined the phrase, you got to fake it until you make it. You've got to understand that you got to put your hands up and say, thank you for my healing. Even if you got pain in your body, thank you for my job. Even if they ain't called you back in the last 6 months, if you pray for it, and believe that you've already received it, then it's yours. Let's talk further. When you act like you know you're getting it, your action works in conjunction with your faith, and it produces the evidence of things you haven't seen. Couple of things that your action does. Your action sends an undeniable message that you trust God. Why are you just praying for a house and you're not putting together a blueprint? Why are you praying for a job and you getting up every day and don't ever get out your house dress? When you trust God, you gonna act like it's already yours. Why you dressed up and it's a Monday morning and it's raining outside? Because I'm dressing for my success. I already know that I prayed for it. Now I'm gonna act like I got it. What time I need to be at work? 9 o'clock. By 8 o'clock, I'm gonna be dressed and look like I'm headed out the door. That's called faith. So it sends a message that you trust God regardless of what it looks like, regardless of what it feels like, regardless of any obstacle you may see, regardless of any opposition. I know God heard my prayer. Let them look at you crazy. Let them talk about you. Give them something to talk about. Because after a while, you're going to have the evidence of what you believe. The second thing that your action produces, it convinces you that it's already done. Stay with me. So many of us pray to God. God, I want. God, I need. God, can I have? But our mindset never shifts so that we can handle what we're praying for. God, I want to be a business owner. You can't wait until you get the business before you act like a business owner. I have to show myself. Romans 12 says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Nothing outside of you changes until something inside of you changes. So when you change your mindset and transform your mindset to act like a millionaire, act like you're healed, act like a business owner, act like you're in a healthy relationship, act like you got a new house, act like you got the best job. When you do that, it shifts your mindset so that when it shows up, you ain't got to get ready, you're already ready. Because if you still got to get ready and it show up, chances are very good that you're going to lose it. That's why there are so many people like professional athletes who lose all their money because their mindset hasn't shifted. They're still living in poverty with a poverty mindset, and their mindset don't know how to handle the millions of dollars. So they go out and splurge and they go out and spend. And in 6 years, 10 years, 5 years, they're broke and got to start all back over again. When you shift your mindset, everything else aligns with your mindset. So when you get up and act like you got what you've been praying for, your mindset begins to shift. And people are like, wow, you look like $1 million today. That's because I got it. I'm dressing like I'm $1 million today. I'm acting like, do you know, it bothers me so bad when we try to pass judgment and offer criticism and or advice to folk whose level we're not even on yet. the LeBrons, when Barack was president, we talk like we know what to do. We talk like we got a better solution to the problems that level of folk have. We don't have a clue because our little mindset don't allow us to even process on that level. So we can't offer advice. What we need to do is sit back and take advice so that our mindset can shift, so that when we get there, we can see why they made the choices and decisions that they made. Have you ever shifted in life? And when you were making $7 an hour minimum wage, and your little mind couldn't fathom paying $75 for a pair of shoes? You ever been there? We all have. And we sit back and that's just splurge. And I can't believe they paid $75 for a pair of shoes. Get a job making $25 an hour and see if your taste don't change. Because when your mindset shifts, everything about you shifts. Now the $75 pair of shoes look cheap. They were too expensive for you when you were making $7 an hour, but when you're making $25 or $30 an hour, all of a sudden, because your mindset shifts and everything around you shifts. Y'all looking at me like y'all don't know what I'm talking about. We all been there. We judge folk and we say stuff and make comments based off of stuff we think we understand, and we don't even have the mindset to even comprehend what they're going through. I've bought things that I never would have imagined buying when I was 17, 18 years old. But because the money changes, my mindset changes. I've connected with people that I didn't think I would ever be able to connect with because I didn't think I was on their level. But when my mindset shifted, I was like, oh, okay, now I see what it seems like. I know what it feels like because I had to change my mind. So when there is action, your action sends the message to your brain saying that I'm worthy of what I'm praying for. Because that's a whole nother sermon. Most of us pray for things that we don't even believe that we're worthy to receive. But when you make yourself worthy, then everything aligns with where your mindset is. Your mindset has to shift so that you can handle it. Let me tell you what happens to us. When we talk about what we want and never be about what we want, the never being about what we want happens as a result of fear. Say amen. We become fearful because we have to fathom for the moment what it's going to take to get us what we want. And most of us, I heard the other day, if your dreams don't scare you, you're not dreaming big enough. So we are intimidated by fear. And what happens to most of us? Fear causes us to analyze and analyze and analyze again and overthink again, and then go back and analyze again until we develop paralysis by analysis. We don't move. We stay in our place of complacency, and all we do is spend the next 10 years talking about what we want God to do and never seeing God do it. We're stuck. Fear paralyzes us because we think and we overthink and we overthink and we think, and we never, ever make a move. Now, here's what happens. Your overthinking and your analysis is what causes you to come up with excuse after excuse after excuse. I want better health, but there's no gym close to my house. I want a better job, but that means I ain't filled out a application and I don't have a resume. I ain't done a resume in 15 years. I want a better relationship, but that means I got to put on some lipstick and look cute when he come home. The problem is that we spend all of our time talking about it. Which do you think is most effective as a witness for God? Talking about it and never seeing anything happen, or doing something and failing, getting up, dusting yourself off, and doing something again? Do you think is the better witness for those that are watching you? People need to see you as a believer putting your foot one in front of the other so that they can see that you really, really, really trust God to do what he said. So what if I mess up? That means I got another avenue that I need to go down. So what if I try and it failed? That means that I just need to redirect my way of thinking. So what if I mess up? At least I know I am trying. Did I tell you the story about how I started writing children's books? So during COVID, I would go and I would sit on the porch and I would just try to find something to keep me inspired and keep me motivated. And I kept trying, and every time I would turn on the iPad or turn on my phone and go to YouTube, the advertisement would pop up and it would say, "You can be a children's book author." First day, swiped it. That morning, that afternoon, go back out on the porch trying to listen. Advertisement pop up. "You can be a children's book author." The next day, "You can be a children's book author." Dismiss it. "You can be a children's book author." For a whole week. So finally, that Friday afternoon, I was like, okay, I'll be a children's book author. Stop. From that day to this one, I never seen the advertisement again. It took everything in me. The moment I said yes, all of the ideas started flooding in my head about how I could write a children's book. Had I allowed fear of failure to keep me from doing it, I would have never did it. When I wrote it, when I got it published, when I did what I had to do, that was all the action I needed to take. I was like, okay, I'm done. Because I had to do the action. I could have talked about writing it for the next 10 years. But if I didn't do anything, it would have never produced any evidence. We say we have faith until we have to activate the faith and do the action, and then it's too much for us to handle. Isn't that something, believer? That when God asks you to prove that you believe him, you cower in fear. God, I don't know. I'm not qualified. Says who? So here's the thing. Fear works with time. Fear doesn't work with timing. Let me give it to you backwards. Action doesn't work with time. Action works with timing. It's not the right time. I'm getting too old. I'm too young. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. Action says that the timing is right even if the time looks like it's wrong. Because God's timing is always perfect. Well, Pastor, how do I know the difference? I'm going to show you. When you have that unction to do, when you have that nudge to do, God ain't never said, well, do you have enough money to do that? He says, move and I'll make a way even if it don't look like there is a way. You've got to concern yourself with timing and not time. Why do you think God keep tapping you on your shoulder and saying, I need you to do that. Go buy the house. But in this economy, yeah, because if the economy was perfect, you wouldn't believe it was me giving it to you. Go apply for that job or that position, but it's 3 more folk applying for it and they're more qualified. Well, if you were qualified, you wouldn't need me to do it. So he says, hey, go do it. But fear says, but I don't think I'm ready. The time ain't right. So we miss our blessing because we concern ourselves with time instead of God's timing. Faith says, as long as I hear God's voice, I'm going to do what he said. You know what that's called? That's called inspired action. Inspired action. Isn't it funny how God can speak to you? I think I shared this to you before. It's so funny how we have more confidence in somebody else's hearing than we do in our own. If I stand up and say, God said this week, everybody in the church is going to be blessed, and God's going to give jobs, and God's going to give money, and God's going to do this. Everybody, hallelujah. But God been telling you for the last 2 weeks, I'm trying to bless you. I'm trying to bless you. And you know what you do? Well, I keep hearing, something keep telling me, something keeps saying to me, I don't know what to do because something keeps saying. And so we miss the timing because we trust other people's hearing over ours. Are y'all learning anything? I'm going to go a little bit further then since you're learning something. Solomon says, let me give you guys some advice. Let me show you what it took for me to become who I am, to do what I do, be who I am, and have what I have. The best advice I can give you is trust in the Lord with all of your heart. Trust means that regardless of what appears to be, I know that the only reason I have had it in my mind to keep praying for it is God want me to have it. Did y'all hear that? The reason why it keeps popping up in your mind is because it was a desire of God's before it was a desire of yours. God keeps nudging you. Listen, pray for this. Pray for this. But I don't think I can have it. I don't think I'm worthy. Pray for this. Pray for this. You keep hearing it, but you don't do it because you don't think you're worthy. You don't think you can have it. God keeps saying, pray for this. Solomon says, trust in the Lord with every fiber of your being. Trust him. Just trust him. Just trust him. The second thing he says, stop overthinking. I'm guilty of overthinking. I overthink. Stop overthinking it. Do not lean to your own rationalization, your own analyzing, your own way of thinking. Lean not to your own understanding. Do you know what that means? That simply means that your little mind can't even come up with the right formula to get what you want. Don't rely on what you're thinking. Just trust in the Lord with all of your heart. Don't rely on your own way of thinking. And in everything you do, have a little talk with Jesus. Tell him all about your troubles. He'll hear your faintest cry. He'll answer by and by. He'll hear the little prayer wheels turning and know that it is burning, because if you have a little talk with him, he'll make it right. Acknowledge him. And every time you have to take a step, God, is the timing right for me to apply? Is the timing right for me to go looking? Is the timing right for me to just wait? What do you say about it? Because if you acknowledge him, he will tell you what to do. Don't that sound so simple? Because the question of the day is, for those of you who still need a sign, God, if you just show me one more sign that I'm supposed to go do this, I'll go do it. If you just tell me one more time, if not now, when? Are you going to trust him? Are you going to go by the timing of God or your time? If not now, when? How much longer are you going to talk about owning a business? How much longer are you going to talk about buying a house or buying a car? How much longer are you going to talk about it? Everybody else getting theirs and you still talking about yours. When you trust God, when you go by God's timing, when you take inspired action, according to Mark 11:24, if you act like you got it, it will be yours. If not now, when? Everybody standing.